he's getting crop dusted by everybody that wants to buy.
Inhaling farts is always good.
Oh, man.
Alrighty, well, hello everybody. This is a little bit of a different crew that we have here today in a much different location than we normally are, but it is my honor and my pleasure to just introduce you guys to 3/5 of the R6 roster that we have here in San Houston. The other two scrubs couldn't be bothered to show up, so of course they won't be joining us, but I am happy for the company that we have. So fellas, go ahead and introduce yourselves to the lovely people.
Yeah, first.
I guess as he said, team Captain Yuri, or Jonathan, Captain Yuri, if you don't want to go either or. The entry / soft roamer for the R6 team at San Houston.
Hi, my name is Philip, otherwise known as Zenn. I play mostly the flex / support for the R6 team. That's it.
Hello, my name is Alex. I'm also known as A1X. Who knows, man? And I am the IGL of the team, and I'm also the hard anchor of the team as well. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. How about y'all? Are y'all happy to be here?
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think we've been talking about a little bit is that this is, for the most part, this is y'all's first ever actual LAN events, against other teams. It's not like the LANs we've had in San Houston. This is going to be an event where you guys are going against quite a few other teams, a lot of notable teams, I think, from around Texas and from out of state as well. A number of them, Fisher College is one of the ones we're talking about, UT, a bunch of UT teams are here. So kind of just give your thoughts, obviously you guys are excited. You haven't actually started the event yet, but what are some of your feelings and some of your thoughts, before you kind of get ready to go on the event tomorrow?
I'm pretty excited. I know it's my first LAN, but to me, I feel like this will be a morale boost in a way of just how I perform. So if I perform really well, then I know I'm a LAN kid and not an online kid because I get decimated online. But that 1-0 MS reaction speed will be in my favor. Hopefully this LAN.
I think for me personally, I think I'm very excited. I think we'll do well. We've competed against some of the teams, so we kind of have a general idea of how they play. But I think, for the most part, I think we can handle the other teams as well.
Yeah, for my first time doing in a LAN that's actually at another location and playing against other teams, I think it's really an awesome feeling to just wow, we're here, right? Because, you look at other teams and you're just like, man, how much prepared, listen, man.
It's doomed. We're doomed already. It's doomed.
No, but for real though, a lot of the times that we actually put in preparation and put the time and effort, I always go with the saying obsession beats talent. And when you're obsessed on trying to make it so far into what you love to do, this is just a big stepping stone for us, and I'm very proud of my team and being able to just say yeah, dude, look, we're here, we're enjoying the moment, and even just being able to do something like this, it's a great feeling. It's very warm, and yes, there's some nerves here and there because again, this is the first time, but in the end of the day, this is just something you never probably experience again, because again, this is your first time. So
Hopefully we'll take experience and more after this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
True.
Especially if we go to championships.
Yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about where you guys were before this, because y'all previously just come out of the NECC season. There was a kerfuffle with some registration stuff, so you actually weren't able to make nationals. That wasn't the fault of anybody part of the org. It was just some miscommunication between NECC and some of the teams. But you guys came off of basically what we call a flawless season. Y'all didn't drop any maps. Y'all went undefeated the entirety of playoffs, undefeated in the entirety of the championship, as the automatic air freshener is adding its own 2 cents to the conversation. So kind of walk me through what that was like for you guys, now that you've had some time to reflect on that as well, and you've been prepping for this LAN. What was that like to go through that season undefeated, had that kind of success, and then what do you guys think that gives you going into this first LAN tournament, especially knowing that the environment is likely to be much more competitive than you had in the NECC?
I will say, whenever we won our championship and went through the season flawlessly, it just shows like how dedicated we are and wanting to actually win. And we learned a lot, like, you know, for our first time playing with each other, where we were able to just like understand what our tendencies are, our play styles, and then figure out like, okay, how can we work together and improve? And being able to just build on from that to this LAN, you know, I'm pretty confident enough that we can actually make it pretty high in the placements. And, you know, I'm very, like I said earlier, I'm proud of these guys. You know, they play the game every day, and, you know, even if all of us have like busy schedules and we had college classes on top of that, and like when we were in practices, we were serious about it. We were learning different things. We did the boring stuff, and even just like trying something different out of our comfort zone, you know. So again, like we put a lot of preparation and being able to just build on from that. So, you know, winning this championship, because again, that was like my first ever championship ever in any sport. And I've played football, played basketball, powerlifting. I mean, I've done it a lot. And that right there was just a victory. It was a victory for all of us because, you know, again, like a flawless championship, you probably never really hear that a lot, or with any team, really. So again, you know, I'm glad that with the season that it turned out to be, it really made it to where we actually come through a high morale into this LAN.
I think for me personally, it was the season was kind of only like a stepping stone because I want to continue and kind of show how good we are as a team, and kind of I think this tournament that's coming up, I think it's a great opportunity to continue that second stepping stone and keep going. For me personally,
For me, it was more of I wouldn't say stepping stone, more of like I guess an eye opener to show that like even though we were in not a poor division, but like not as competitive as I would have hoped for, it was still a division that was still pretty high competition, but not very good, but not also the worst. So it was more of a split even, and knowing that we can flawless, you know, the middle of the competition gives me hope that like, okay, this team can actually probably do something against the high competitive teams. We can actually probably, you know, make them work and put them against the wall at some point if we just continue playing what we're playing. And just winning that championship kind of just made it like, oh, you know, it's something that can actually happen.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, like those teams were actually playing like their hearts out too.
Some of them,
You know,
were.
some of them were. There was a few that was kind of trolling, but like
they knew they were going to lose.
oh, they
Yeah.
did. Some of the teams that we played against, they were just like
they already knew.
they knew from the beginning just because of how they were talking to us, how they were playing. And then there was one that just literally opened up everything inside. They gave up. Like they basically just gave everything. And
So that actually leads me kind of into my next question a little bit. So you guys come off this fall of the season. Obviously, you know that this tournament is going to be much higher level competition, I think, for the most part. So is there a sense for you guys of actually being able to get to cut your teeth on this level of competition? You know, you've got like the Fisher guys, a bunch of the UT teams are going to be there. The you know, shake a box of UT teams. There's so many of them in there. You've got you know, a couple of, like Baylor's going to be there as well. So, you know, is there that sense of like, is there a little bit of trepidation in facing some of these teams? Like, no, like we're ready to get going and face some higher level competition.
we've had a taste of what they play like, and we've scrimmed against a couple of these teams, so we know like this is a big level of we're going up against.
And we've also watched a lot of VODs and everything just by
Yes.
like just sitting in Discord right after our games and kind of watching everybody else play. It's definitely interesting. I think for this tournament in particular, I think you guys will probably see like something completely different out of us. I think it's going to be a completely different.
Because I think that's the other thing too is we found out recently. I think we confirmed that they are going to be streaming the games.
Yeah.
So that's going to be nice. People actually get to see y'all compete. So you talked about your preparation. Like, has it been different prepping for these teams than you would prep for other teams in the NECC division,
Yeah.
or are there? So it is completely different.
For sure.
Yeah. Like,
What are the differences?
I think the biggest difference is that, okay, we're going to have to change the way we actually play together. Now, with NECC, it was more of how can we learn the maps comfortably, right? So that was the biggest foundation, was learning the maps. And then once we understood, okay, these maps we're comfortable with, now let's change it. Let's make it to where they will not expect this type of play or strategy. So we changed some different strats, we did different things, and when we went through them, there was one practice where we dry runned. It was like 4 hours long when we dry run the strats.
Yeah.
Because these strats were so important to understand. It's like, okay, well, this is why this happens. And if this outcome happens, you have to do this. So there's like, you have to get people to understand these paths and the way that the play actually runs. Because if not everybody knows their job, then it's not going to flow fluently. And that's why when I look into strats, I actually watch a lot of Pro League. I know he does, and all of us pretty much do. But I take the match replays of Pro League, and I would literally study every single reinforcement, every
Everything to
gadget,
minute
why
detail.
it's there, what do they do in their like prep phase, and then what they do after that. And I tell them, it's like, you're playing this person so that you would pretty much know what you're doing. And that's where it was different from NECC, because NECC was like, these are the strats, and then pretty much just kind of go from there. We kind of took a little bit of seriousness when we started saying, oh, we're playing against better teams now, so we need to kind of get our head in the game.
Sorry.
No,
I was off. But I mean, the preparation for most of these teams in this tournament, it was more of like, okay, we know that there's like going to be half that are. I mean, it's usually in every tournament. It's not even just this tournament. There's always, you have your lower half of people that people have very low expectations for. Then you have your teams that you have your high expectations for. And it's just like, for us, I mean, a lot of people sadly don't know about us. Even
Since we are first year.
Since we do have, these two are our first semester here with us. And then the other two that are sadly are not here and missing out.
Gosh dang.
I've played with those two since two couple semesters ago. We just added these two this semester, and being able to pull off a championship with a new team that just started this semester was kind of like okay, that's pretty cool. We have time to develop still too, because not a lot of us graduate, and there's teams like that as well that have been playing for like 2 years, 3 years together, just on the same team.
And we slammed them.
No, and yeah, there are some teams that were in that NSCC division that played exactly like that, and we were able to slam them. So it's like actual good teams that have played like that are kind of scary because they have their communication. They don't even have to say a word, and they would know what to do. That's what I'm hoping for, a level we can get to at that point, which we're kind of there on certain maps. We're kind of there. It's just like, oh, don't need to say anything. We all know what to do off of the enemy team playing a certain way. We know exactly what to do and how to get to them. And so that's when it starts getting scary for like us and for other teams as well. Thank you for your 2 cents. But it's like, it was more of just, I say mentally preparing us, because I know there's some players that we know and some players that know me that are going to be at that tournament that I haven't met face to face, but we've played each other online and stuff like that. So it's going to be a different aspect of being able to see your enemy, because for us, we haven't done that. We rarely get to play with each other, seeing each other.
Yeah.
I mean, having a webcam.
This is our first time.
Yeah, having a webcam on and like being in person are completely two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I say a lot of preparation was, yes, strats and stuff like that, but also mentality preparation as well, just because I feel like even though it's going to be on land, it might be very, very stressful for us, just because it's like our first time playing together, first time seeing each other, and we're not going to be in the comfort of our own house, our own desk. It's in a completely different environment with a completely different setup, even though it's better than mine. But
It's not yours.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
So that actually kind of rounds us to another good question I've had. You talked a lot about preparation of game. We were talking earlier a little bit. We were just going to get something to eat, and we were going through some of your preparation stuff for some of the specific match, which we may or may not get into here in the next couple of minutes. I don't want to keep you guys too long. But one of the things you guys talked about is that the game has changed in the recent patch. And so some of the things that you've been used to, this staple stuff with the game, specifically I think you were talking about smoke is who it was. Some of the changes there. Like, what is that like now having to adjust after what seemed like core game mechanics have kind of changed?
Dude, I cry every time.
It's very, very, like, not frustrating, but in my opinion, I kind of like it because it keeps the game, like, fresh in a way, because it's like you were used to playing this certain way, having these certain gadgets on these certain operators. Now those gadgets have been moved around to other operators. This operator that you're used to now is like, it can have the same job, but now it's not going to feel the same doing the same job because of a different gadget change.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have to come up with a somewhat of a new strat to compensate for the gadget you lost to give to another operator, and then also take the bullet of switching out an operator that you have been running for all that entire strat just to have that certain gadget. And it's just like, it's frustrating, but it also keeps it pretty fresh in my opinion.
Y'all had made a comment, I think you were telling me as well, that one of the big changes that you kind of felt the way that the game was going was less away from some tactical play and more trying to emphasize the gunplay. You were talking about the loss of the shield. How does that make you feel? I mean, you were talking a lot about strategizing and getting into that in and out of like why all the operators have these gadgets and what to do with them. And now it's less of, this 5-hit strat and more about a bunch of pew-pew going on.
Yeah. So I'm more of a methodical player. I'm one of those players that don't really go in the heavy gunplay. That's why I joined Siege, was just because of the fact, like, I don't have to run and gun all the time. I can just, like, okay, I can outsmart my opponents, right? Because there's all these, like, different gadgets that you can use. Like, yeah, I can flashbang a guy around the corner. Oh, well, they can't nade me because I have these things called ADSs where it will destroy any projectile that comes at me. I have a shield. I can literally see through it. And if they are in that line of sight, I can just peek over and use my shotgun. Now it gets to that flow of like, well, gonna have to go pew pew, that's literally how the game is run. Now, don't get me wrong. The beginning of Siege, the utility meta is what we call it in the beginning, sucked because you couldn't really like play the game.
I just saw
with
flashbacks in Zenn's eyes. He's like, he's like, please never bring that back.
And hence, I've only played this game for a year, and I've looked back and saw it. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't have to go through that because the way that the utility meta is that you had to go through every single utility just to get into a gunfight, and then the match would be like 20 seconds left. And you just got into your first gunfight.
Most teams would be executing side by like maybe like 10 seconds left.
Yeah. Now it got to the point where there's some balance where you can have your own set of pace. Everybody has their own play style. It's just getting to that faster motion. Now with Siege, this is what I like about it though still. And he said it before, it's fresh. There's always a new meta. There's always something different. And it just changes the game all the time. Whether it's map changes, operate changes, gadget changes, recoil change, it does not matter. The game always changes.
And so, Zenn, you were talking about when we were eating, that you kind of like that change because that being someone who kind of likes to go for those gunfights, sort of that roam heavy style, someone that likes to get those operators and just take the fight no matter whether or not you're on the attacking or defending side. For you, like, how do you feel about this change? Do you think it's the right kind of balance, or do you think maybe it should even go more towards gunplay?
I think with this new change, I think there's definitely some like it's gonna put the game at a completely different pace, and I think it's in a positive way because I love the fast-paced gameplay of Siege. I always have. So I was an Ash main for like the longest time. That's pretty much all I played, and she's a 3-speed. You just run and gun and just go in.
No brain.
So, for me, I think it's a really positive change, especially when they added the observation blocker. I think it's definitely, I think with that in particular, I think it can, there's going to be some things we might see at the LAN that are like something you've never seen before. I think it's very exciting.
But also, a lot of the utility change came out, like it came out of that meta because of the addition of new operators. Like the very first season, you know, all you had was Ash, Thermite, like all these vanilla operators that can only do certain things, so you're only able to do things a certain way. But now that they keep adding these new operators, adding these new layers of ways to do, you know, things that you couldn't do before. Like you have like beforehand, you only had like 2 ways to destroy a shield. Now you have like 15 different ways to take out a shield. And it's, just, it's cool, but it's like that's the reason why I feel like there's also becoming more of a gun meta in the for Siege, just because it's like people are realizing, oh, you know, people are starting to do a lot of utility stuff, so why not me peek them out while I know they're going to be trying to clear this utility, and I can just go and, you know, catch them with their pants down. And so then, as the attacker, you're thinking, okay, they're going to think I'm going to try to clear this utility, so let me go for the kill. And so usually people start thinking more for the kill instead of clearing the utility because they think they're in the other person's head. That's why it started to become more of a gun meta, like a run and gun meta compared to utility meta, just because people are thinking they're a step ahead when they're honestly on the same page. But the thing with us, I believe, is like we may start off in a gun meta, but we're able to switch it to run at our pace, to run it to where it starts slowly becoming into the utility meta. We kill, you know, 1 or 2, and then we all come back, and now those last 3 have to figure out a way to deal with all that utility that they still have left to clear
Scrounge up around.
And so it becomes more difficult for them. And but we also flip it upside down. So say we lose 2 players, and then the rest of us are on site, they still have that utility coverage to clear, and we sort of use that to our advantage, and then get back into, you know, an even 3v3. And so it's gonna be what the thing to look out for is how other teams will look and use that utility, because there's some teams that are kind of scary with their utility timings. Like there's teams that, like, say you have a shield with 3 ADSs, there's teams that are throwing the 3 flashes and then having an innate cook while those flashes are going off. So there's nothing you can do about it. Like
You just get naded right off your shield.
exactly. And it's just
Your site privileges have been revoked.
exactly. And it's just like it's kind of scary how some of those teams are. But I feel like if we play our game, we can match that type of gameplay.
And I think that's what's cool about how our team is that not only that we're able to mix our play styles, but it's also the fact that we are adapting to the point where we can even not only just not necessarily switch roles, but the operators, right? So like, since let's say
Keep going, we get some more.
yeah, go ahead. So let's say he's basically the entry, right? And I'm just like, John, you're gonna play ace, but you're entry ace. Throw your utility all on this wall, and you just go in, because what else do you have? You now you're just a gun, right? So it's things like that. Like you're able to pretty much change different roles and just do different things, but still play your play style, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know I might be a methodical player, however, I'm over here like, if I'm gonna go in, then I'll go in, because there's a weakness to that attack that I see, and I'll be like, hey, listen, let's say solar. There's no utility solar. We're gonna go up there. We're gonna go ahead and rush it, and that's when the whole game plan changes, because we are like, all right, we're ready to go, right? And that's what's cool about our team, is that our team is able to adapt and change a little bit, even if it's something like, I don't really play this guy a lot, but I'm willing to try it, right? And it's just like, dude, if Scott was here, I'd pick on him for this. So he is our lurker, but he hates playing Knock. And Knock is one of those characters where you literally cannot be seen on cams. You are literally the sneakiest character in the game, and you hate playing her. And you know what he complains about? The gun control. And I'm like, I can control it just fine, man.
So that kind of segues this pretty nicely because I wanted to take an opportunity to end this particular little episode of this as we get ready to put these throughout the weekend. You have two team members who are not here to defend themselves in any way, shape, or form. And you've been talking about the team dynamics and talking about all the flexibility and trying to get the synergy going on, but then now kind of getting a little bit of the nitty gritty about some of the stuff that you do and don't like. So yeah, let's take this opportunity to kind of take a little dig at the other two guys that aren't here. So now that you've got a couple moments to vent, what are some other things that go on that you're not quite happy with that you could give them some constructive feedback?
Oh, that's like,
Oh, he had a lot to say about the knocking out. He's got nothing at all.
No. On my piece, they just got to slow down, man. They just got to slow down. And they probably will agree too, because we always talk about it all the time. And we always give each other constructive feedback because as a team, you have to talk to each other, right? And you got to be able to be like, hey, listen, we need to start doing this. I know you have a problem with this, or you're getting in your head too much, but we just got to be able to fix it, and here's how we should do it. And we try different things. With Dan and Scott, these guys are one of the best fraggers on our team. All four of them, the two that are not here though, but all four of them, they're the best fraggers. I'm just able to just hold on to myself on site or do what I need to do to support these guys and just guide them through.
Mm.
But whenever they know their pacing, they know the direction that they're going, and they understand what's happening, I don't have to really do a lot because all I gotta do, seriously, there's rounds where I'm like, okay, we're gonna go here, and then all of a sudden the round's over. It's like, I didn't have to do anything. I mean, dang, okay,
Most of the
well,
time he's
whatever.
droning, so.
So yeah, no, I'm the main droner. I'm literally like making sure we're clear. I'm leading one of these guys, and already numbers starts dropping, and I'm just like,
Well,
dang, okay.
there goes my round.
There goes mine. Really. I'm still outside, man. I can't even get in the building, but
You're repelled, and it's just all right. We're gonna. Oh,
yeah, seriously.
shit.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for the easy rounds. I didn't have to get up from my chair.
Oh my god, bro. I'm just like, well, all right.
There's nothing funnier than hearing, all right, this is clear, and then just, I'm like, oh, it turns out it wasn't clear.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That happens.
That happens way too much.
I'm falling culprit to that.
See, this is what I'm saying. We have so much that we always.
If I had a dollar for every time I heard the phrase, icebox clear, icebox wasn't clear.
Yeah, no. Oh man, dude. But that's the thing. We learn along the way, and we work on it every time. And yes, we do have our ups and downs. Every team does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we go through with it, and we still are very proud for how far we came along, even for a first semester team, right? So I think like I said, I think even with the guys that are not here, I think they're gonna learn a lot and enjoy the experience because again, there's really nothing like this for our first time, and I think there's more to come, in the future. So I'm excited about it.
Making it into the top 4, C or 6, or any of those leagues, they usually do a LAN event for semis and finals. So maybe you see us there. You never know.
Yeah, you never know,
Oh, yeah.
man.
All right, well, gentlemen, we're going to end out this episode, but before we do, the floor is yours. If you have anybody you want to trash talk, any friends, foe, or family you want to call out.
I've done enough, man.
He's done his fair share.
I mean, I don't got much to say either. It's just make sure you pay attention to the IGL. That's all I gotta say.
What are your predictions? Let's do that. Let's end it out with something spicy, something to come back to next time for tomorrow. What are your predictions for tomorrow?
I think
4-0? No, sure.
No, I like it. I like it. Spicy 4-0.
I think with how teams have seen us play before, I don't think they'll expect tomorrow. So I think 4-0.
So you think you're the sleeper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we
I think everybody has immensely improved since NECC.
for sure.
So
I hate predicting because it just backfires on me.
So tomorrow, I think we should clarify. So Friday is not actually any knockout stage. Tomorrow, what it is essentially how it works for most of it. It's a group stage. It's a play-ins where all the teams you're going to get put in a group and you get to play the people in that group, and that's kind of going to determine your seeding for Saturday, which will determine who gets what matchups, and then Saturday will begin the start of the actual bracket where you start to get teams get knocked out, and then you go through semifinal or quarters, finals, and then Saturday or Sunday will be semifinals and finals. So you're saying 4-0.
Hopefully.
You're hopefully 4-0. You're thinking you're kind of on the sleeper side. You're not
Yeah.
sure, but you're thinking people are going to sleep on Sam Houston and you.
I'm just gonna say actions speak louder than words. We're gonna see who's more obsessed, you know. So that's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say.
I'll guarantee at least 2 wins for sure.
All right, he
Guaranteed.
says at least 2. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. Thank you all so much for watching. Of course, the lovely R6 crew that will be here with us for the rest of the weekend because we are going to be our weekend. We're going to reach Sunday. We're going to reach Sunday. That's going to happen no matter what. Come hell or high water, hook or by crook, we're going to reach Sunday. But thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time. More content to come. But until then, bye-bye.
You don't know that. You can't
It's
reach.
almost there.
Oh, you had it.
Gotta add little bloopers, you know.
You gotta be quicker than that. You gotta be quicker than that.